Welcome back to Button Mash on WCRD 91.3 FM, the Pulse of Ball State. Hey guys, today's show is going to be formatted a little differently. We experienced some technical difficulties over at the WCRD studios. It looked like the soundboard was kind of, what's the word I want to use? Borking out?
Yeah.
I like that word. And so instead of being able to host a full show with full staff, today it's just me and my good friend Brian Cook bringing you some news and some cool stuff to talk about later today. Today we're going to be talking about the NPD numbers, talking about how much games have made in the last year or so. We're also going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct event, in which there's been plenty of announcements regarding their upcoming titles. And finally, we're going to be talking about what everybody wants to hear about, the Titanfall beta, going on right now as you hear this probably. And we're going to give you lots of details on that. So Brian, how are you?
I'm doing good. The weather's looking up a little bit. It's not nearly as cold
Yeah,
outside.
it's a good Valentine's Day compared to last year when it was like death out.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying the warm weather. It's nice to finally get outside and not freeze to death.
Yep, all right, so let's jump right into the news. Let's start with our NPD story. The NPD, Brian, do you know what the NPD stands for?
I don't, actually.
I don't care. The NPD has released its report tracking all video game spending in the U.S. over 2013, and looks like a total of $15.39 billion was spent on games in the U.S. alone last year. So, for those of you who may remember, lots of outlets did a story on Grand Theft Auto 5 late last year, how it broke essentially every sales record for any piece of like digital media, which is astounding, and these numbers come back up to support it. Other stats that they've released: new physical games earned $6.34 billion throughout 2013, and used game sales and rentals accounted for about $1.8 billion. Full game downloads, add-on content, subscriptions, mobile, and social network games. I've been eating, and social network games generated the most cash last year, accounting for $7.2 billion of total video game sales. 2012 had a less significant year. I believe that's probably just because it was getting closer to the tail end of the PS3 and the Xbox 360. We knew about the PlayStation 4 by then. We were detecting, oh, look at all these titles that are like getting teased now for the PS4. Why should I buy a PS3 in like the 6th year of its lifespan? Brian, what do you think?
It's not shocking, I think, is the big thing. It's definitely not shocking to see those type of numbers. Obviously, companies like Steam have come back and said numerous times that their numbers have been up. I think they actually said in the month of December during the Christmas season they actually went up, what was it, like 15% or something like that, people signing up for Steam as a whole. So it's not entirely shocking to see this big numbers, especially when you bring up like GTA 5 and bigger games like Battlefield and different stuff like that. And I honestly feel like it's going to go up from there with games like Titanfall when it gets released, and bigger names and bigger games, especially as people start to get a grip on the technology that's being introduced and hardware being introduced with all the different consoles.
Yeah, was it Polygon, I believe, did a great article on Infamous Second Son. They said, has the perfect runway for success. And I like the way that they phrased it, because it's one of the first games this generation that was built specifically for nothing but one console and one next-gen console at that. So we're going to start seeing more concrete examples of games designed specifically for this technology, rather than titles like Call of Duty Ghosts or Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag that were designed for both consoles in mind, but because of that you had to restrict yourself on the next gen to be able to be as high quality on the PS3 or Xbox 360. So we're going to keep an eye on that, see if anything else comes out of that. And let's move on to the next news story. We're kind of blowing through these today, just trying to put out as much content as possible for you guys, because, hey, you're our fans and we love you. All right, so next news story, our very own Eric Himsel. How do you pronounce Himsel? Yeah, I got
Eric, if you're listening, we apologize if we completely just butchered your last name.
I love you. He wrote a great article for us on our written blog, budmashbsu.blogspot.com. About the Nintendo Direct event. This is their, is it an annual press conference?
That was when Nick, our news editor, had started to edit that thing, he asked me about that, and I feel like that's actually something Nintendo might start doing, where they might start holding like annual press conferences to actually introduce new technology and stuff, which would be great. And I think, regardless if it's not annual, I think it was a great idea to do something like this all of a sudden, because I didn't know about it.
They've been diminishing their presence at Tokyo Game Show and E3 for like the last 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I'm completely fine with like a Nintendo-centric event. Like, if you have the means to do it and you want the press to come out there for just that, then by all means, I'll buy a ticket. The first story out of that, the first trailer that they revealed during the is it press conference, I suppose, is the correct way to
it was a
refer to it.
video type thing with Iwata.
Yeah, the first trailer revealed Little Mac from the Punch-Out series will be a playable character in the upcoming Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and the 3DS. There's no official release date, but Nintendo's confirmed that the games will be launched in 2014. We're seeing a lot of companies coming out and saying, just trying to like swing their gravitas around about how many games they're coming out in 2014. Sony just came out and said that over 100 games will be put on the PlayStation 4 in 2014 alone.
That's incredible.
And but how many of those are indie titles? How many of those are ports?
Well, yeah.
They never said fresh original, and I really hate that when a company's got to be like, we're going to have 6,000 titles out there. 7,000 of them are going to be Angry Bird clones.
Well, you got to think about how many of those are ports. How many of those are just like people that they put the games on the actual stores and stuff that you can buy for $4 or $5.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, regardless of the nature of what games and what type of games come out, going out and saying we're going to put 100 games out is a huge, bold move for Sony. Regardless if they put out just minimal like DLC and stuff like that, saying that you're going to do 100 of something is a big, huge, bold move.
It's putting the ball in their own court, which companies need to be much more careful now, because the consumer base has gotten much more wary, and they like to observe the promises that are actually kept these go-rounds, because we had the whole DRM issue with Xbox One, and the community spoke up freakishly out about that, painfully so. So if Sony doesn't come back on the promises for that, they could be in a lot of hot water. Next off of the Nintendo Direct event came a new trailer for Mario Golf World for the 3DS. There will be a new single-player mode called the Castle Club, where players may play golf using their own personal Mii as a character. Woo! Players can customize their Mii's clothing with effects that affects their golfing status. New training areas, and that game will be launching on May 2nd. I used to play the Mario Golf that was on Game Boy Advance.
I played the emulator.
Emulator?
Yeah, it was nice. That's something I really like that Nintendo's doing, is they're integrating the 3DS with the Wii U. Because I hadn't ever had a desire to pick up a Wii U. Because it was like any launch console. There wasn't enough for me to go, hey, I'm going to buy this because of this. And I feel like integrating the 3DS with the Wii U is doing something that I feel like a lot of people that have bought the Wii U have kind of wanted, but it also gives you another chance to kind of go second screen and maybe do some stuff that you can't do on your Wii U on a 3DS.
The best way for any company to expand that sort of prospect of a second screen experience is make it beneficial but not necessary. The moment you make it necessary for someone to buy an extra peripheral is when you've got that Wii curse where, I would like to play Just Dance, but I don't want to have to buy 3 other controllers, or I don't want to have to buy the Fit Pad or whatever that you stand on.
Something like that.
Which is a scary prospect, because they have there's rumors of the Wii Fusion being a health centric console. And that I know that they've said some words about like it being a wireless peripheral-less experience, but I don't see that actually working out. At least with technology now, like if Kinect's the monstrosity it is now, I doubt Nintendo can pull off too much better. Even though they had a higher rate of success with the Wii motion controls and compatibility with all their games.
Yeah, I feel like with the Wii, because if you actually look at the standards when they actually first released the Wii, the PlayStation 3, and the Xbox 360, the Wii actually outsold both of them by about 20 or 30 million units. And I feel like that caused, obviously, PlayStation to release the PlayStation Move, I think it was called, and then Xbox to
like a
come
giant
out
ping
with
pong.
to come out with the Kinect or the Kinect.
The Kinect, yeah. And Sony had the PlayStation Eye before that, even.
And then they had the iToy with the PlayStation 2.
The iToy, which was literally just a bunch of mini games on maybe 2 discs, and then they were done. They let that burn pretty fast.
But I feel like the Wii created this market where people were like, you can make video games and have them stand up too, like stand up and play the video games.
Something much more attractive to a mom who's like, you need to get outside.
I have faith in Nintendo that while I don't agree that a fitness type of game system would really super be successful, I have the faith in Nintendo that they're going to find a way to make it successful. Because I think when the Wii first came out, nobody was like, yeah, the Wii, let's stand up and play bowling. I feel like it's
like, oh, look at all these mini games. I guess I'll play them once.
Successful.
Next on the agenda from the Nintendo Direct Conference, they also introduced Kirby Triple Deluxe, where players can gather new collectibles such as keychains and sunstones to improve their game playing experience. If players use a Street Pass feature, they can gather better items and exclusive keychains. Kirby Triple Deluxe will launch on the 3DS on May 2nd as well. So wow, they're getting a couple of titles out there on the same day. That's pretty good. I would like that. That might be dangerous for their overall schedule, but for their short term, I can see that working out. The next 3DS news focuses on Yoshi's New Island. New to the title is the Mega Egg Dozer feature Yoshi can use to destroy structures and enemies around him. New abilities were also announced, such as rock breaking jackhammer and a couple of things like that. Sort of acts like the star power from Super Mario games. Yoshi's New Island will be released for the 3DS on March 14th. So shortly before, March, April, May, about 2 months before the previous 2 titles. And then Nintendo released a sequel to the Steel Diver game. New 3DS title was announced during the video entitled Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. Players can buy baseball games at an in-game store. New 3DS game that was announced was Pokemon Battle Troze. This title is a puzzle game that will feature every single Pokemon. Defeating them in the puzzle game will allow players to capture the Pokemon. Battle Troze will also feature 4-player co-op and will launch on March 20th. I played the Pokemon Conquest game. Have you played that?
I've never actually heard of it.
That's an interesting one, and I like it when Pokemon branches out from the typical formula that they've set up with their main series. Conquest was interesting because it actually combined Pokemon and a completely different RPG series that I think is only in Japan. It has something to do with like feudal era warlords. So all these like anime feudal warlords like had Pokemon by their sides, and they would use them to battle rather than like soldiers or something like that. And it was pretty charming, and at least it was different from the mold that they had been gunning for in the last like Black and White 2, and then was X and Y. And like I know that they had experienced some success with the Pokemon Ranger titles. I know some did better than others, though. So good to see that they're at least keeping a different amount of innovation there. Nintendo then announced NES Remix 2, which will play much like the original game, but with titles from later days of the NES. The game will also include Super Luigi Brothers, which is a reversed version of the original Super Mario Brothers. Hey, Luigi's finally getting his due. And instead of always moving to the right, players will now move to the left. Luigi, oh my god. Innovation, everybody.
Innovation, we can have you do a side scroller to the left instead of the right.
Luigi also comes playable with his signature Super Jump. NES Remix 2 will be released on the Wii U eShop on April 25th. Game Boy Advance games will finally be playable on the Wii U. Brian is raising his hands to the sky. Game Boy Advance games will finally be playable on the Wii U starting in April with Metroid Fusion, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, and Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3. Brian, you want to...
Well, I was a Game Boy kid growing up. That was basically like my first real introduction outside of the NES or Super NES. We had a Super NES, I think. or we had the original NES when I was growing up. I can't remember. Um, I'm so old. But I grew up with the Game Boy. I remember buying my first Game Boy with birthday money, my mom taking me. So I'm really super excited to see that well, obviously, putting it on the maybe a 3DS kind of virtual console type thing might have integrated better. I feel like it's going to be really awesome to be able to say, instead of I'm playing emulators of old Game Boy Advance games on my computer, that I can sit with a Wii U console and actually,
Yeah.
I feel like they're kind of almost wanting to cut into that market where the people that have emulators who play games, older Game Boy Advance games now might be inclined to maybe buy a Wii U and go, hey, we can now buy these games and play them on a console instead of.
I feel like emulators have gotten a bad rep lately because a majority of them are like produced by pirated software and just internet pirates in that sense. But what with like Sony saying, oh yeah, we're going to make an emulator for our PlayStation Now service so you can play PS1 and 2 titles on your PS4. I feel like they're trying to tap into that market and being like, look, this is where people go if we can make it more convenient and more affordable in a sense than scouring the internet for a sketchy emulator that may or may not actually work, and you don't want to blow 100 hours of progress. I'm fine with that as long as it doesn't get abused into another, how do we make money off of this thing?
Yeah, obviously, and it's almost like taking a bigger picture. It's almost like the people that end up getting movies off the internet. I feel like this was a move that Nintendo saw, that people are playing their games, but they're playing their games that they don't make money off of anymore. So I feel like Nintendo saw this as a way that, hey, if we create an interesting enough product for people that entice them to, instead of going and doing something that they could obviously get for free, that they could end up taking and actually going and buying and picking up these consoles. Obviously, they're going to need to make sure like graphics are nice.
Yeah.
It's Game Boy Advance game, but make sure everything looks better and bring that value to doing something through Nintendo instead of just doing something for free.
You go where the market is, and that's really all a smart business can do.
Definitely.
All right, and wrapping up with Nintendo Direct news, 2 trailers released for upcoming titles. Monolith Soft's title X. Gameplay looks really identical to Xenoblade Chronicles, except that it appears more polished. We would hope so. Xenoblade Chronicles is like, 2 years old now? 3?
I think so.
The player in the demo slashed away at an enemy creature, then proceeded into a giant mech-like suit and continued their onslaught. No official title or release date, but Nintendo said, sit tight for more details. And finally, Nintendo wrapped up the conference with a trailer for Bayonetta 2. People were really kind of weirded out that Bayonetta 2 was announced as a Wii U exclusive?
I think so.
Yeah, as a Wii U exclusive, because the original Bayonetta was on PS3 and Xbox 360, and people were like, what? That's so weird. You're like literally alienating your base. But I'm fine with it. You know why I'm fine with it, Brian?
Why's that?
Because she has short hair now. And if you've known me long enough, ladies and gentlemen, short hair is the bomb. So, there's new footage out there. Check it out. And we'll keep an eye on all the titles that have been announced here. Nick, our news editor, has been doing a great job. He's got 3 stories that were just posted today by the time you probably hear this, if you're listening to it on the Friday it airs. But yeah, check us out on the buttonmashbsu.blogspot.com for a more written, in-depth review of all the information we just gave you there. And Brian, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time to talk about Titanfall. Let's pull up that information there. All right. So, yes, by the time you listen to this, the Titanfall beta will be in full swing. People received their codes early this morning, and press members have had their codes and their access for at least a couple days now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been posting their thoughts, and even though I'm probably not going to be able to buy this game, especially for an Xbox One, since I don't own one yet, I'm really glad to hear that people are loving this title, and that it's just so much stupid fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of the shooter market is so crowded at times because that seems to be the easy thing to do. and with successful titles like Battlefield 4, and then you also have successful titles like Call of Duty, it's kind of hard to break into that market to say, hey, we're going to try something new with shooter titles. It seems like everybody's really, really enjoyed it. And if you are looking, like, you can go onto Twitch.tv and actually find people that are streaming it. They've given...
we might be doing a stream, by the way, later this week.
They've given access to people to record video and stream, and we might actually have one of our staff members record some footage, stream some footage. He actually just got an Xbox One, so it really depends on what hardware is attached to the Xbox One. But it seems really cool. I know Lucas got his, the assistant editor-in-chief, he got his beta code this morning. I got mine.
I got mine, but it's weird though because it looks like EA had sent out a lot of beta codes for the wrong system that people requested. During the pre-registration, they allowed you to sign up for either Xbox One or PC. And I signed up for PC, but I got a code for the Xbox One, and it looks like it was a big enough problem that EA actually had their own post about it, saying if you were accidentally given the wrong code, please follow these steps so we can get you a new one. And that's a little disappointing, but I'll get my code anyway. And I'm agitated that I can't play it right now. But let's talk about some gameplay specifics. I have a great couple of details here. 2 maps are going to be available for the beta, titled Angel City and Fracture. It is currently unknown how many maps will be featured in the finished game. Hopefully a lot. I always like when there's a multitude of maps. Some that maybe you'll never play again, but that's always for the best. As long as every map can be pretty solid and you're not stuck to the same 2 most popular ones. 3 modes will be available: Attrition, Last Titan Standing, and Hardpoint. A couple of details on Last Titan Standing pits 2 teams of 6 against one another, with every player starting out in their Titan. Each player receives only 1 life, so expect those matches to be a bit more tactical and conservative. The mode called Burn Cards, there's a gameplay element called Burn Cards, They can be equipped during a match and only last until your next death. Up to 3 can be equipped simultaneously, and their effects vary from increased movement to decreased cooldowns. Kind of sounds just like perks, essentially.
Yeah, something to give you a little bit more combat advantage when you're actually fighting.
Yeah, and there's the final mode will be called Hardpoint. The Attrition is essentially team deathmatch. Last Titan Standing, and Hardpoint is Call of Duty's popular domination mode. So looks like you're going to be able to unlock the ability to customize your own class at level 5. No idea on how long it would take to level up. Probably about the same as you might expect in another shooter. Scoring points makes your Titan countdown tick down faster. When spawned, your Titan can either be piloted, set to guard a location on the map, or follow the player. I love that so much. Come here, boy. Come here.
Yeah. Come here, giant thing that's going to smash everyone.
Yeah. Titanfall. Funniest thing ever, I follow Susan Arendt. She's the managing editor for Joystick now, former editor-in-chief of Escapist magazine. She was tweeting the other day, I just dropped my Titan on another Titan and killed it. I love this game.
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible.
So I am kind of jonesing for that. Some specifics on, depending on what platform you use this for, if you're playing on the Xbox One, the beta of the game runs at a native resolution of 792p on Xbox One, which is really weird. But the final version of the game could run at 900. Xbox One will upscale this to 1080p, and Respawn Entertainment is working with Microsoft to improve the machine's upscaling tech in time for the actual launch. Microsoft will also release an Xbox One update to modify the controller's analog sticks in time for Titanfall. If you're playing on PC like us poor schlubs, however, users on Twitter are reporting that the PC Titanfall beta weighs in at about 12.3 gigs, and you're going to, of course, need your Origin account to play. Titanfall will be released on Xbox One and PC on March 11th. Xbox 360 version will be released on March 25th. Whew, that's a lot of information.
a lot of words. I'm proud of you.
A lot of words, yep. I'm really excited. I want to get out there and play this because I know that I won't be able to play it after the beta for a while. and just see what it's really about and get the information out there to people.
I think the big thing that I hope comes away from the beta is that it's a true beta, and the people that are making this game pay attention to the results and kind of the feedback, because obviously we've seen in the past with certain betas for games that when they actually go to launch the actual title, things don't usually fall into place.
Looking at you, Battlefield.
I'm looking at you, SimCity. So that's going to be the big thing that for me, that is, regardless if they have the greatest beta ever and they get the most amount of response and people give them the most amount of ideas on how to improve the game, if they don't take those ideas and prepare for the fact that when they launch it, they're going to have a ton of people that are going to go out and get this game.
Yep.
They just need to make sure that servers are going to be up to speed. Like, we don't need...
It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be functional,
yeah,
please.
I don't want to get onto Twitter the day it launches and just read nothing but can't play Titanfall, can't play Titanfall, can't play Titanfall, because I feel like that's going to ruin this title. That will be the biggest catalyst to ruin the title.
Other than the actual ability to play it, what do you think will be like the couple of defining features that will make this game a success? Because obviously it's appealing to a mass market. It's a shooter. Many people love shooters, but for people like us who might be a little more tough on I
didn't know where you were going with that.
Might be a little more shrewd about what we like. What do you think are going to be the elements of it that actually keep us playing?
I think the big thing that Titanfall has going for it is it's outside of the realm of the normal shooter. Obviously, Battlefield, Call of Duty playing to that I'm a person with a gun running across the battlefield to fight somebody. I feel like the expansion of having Titans, obviously the tweet you had mentioned earlier, just being able to utilize features within the game that make it different from other shooter titles is going to be the big thing I feel like that they have going for them. It's the fact that it's not a normal, like, you get killed, you respawn. And I feel like the other big thing is I hope that it's not a title like Call of Duty where if you don't play it from day one and then you pick it up like in 2 or 3 months, you're completely behind everybody else in terms of skill.
Getting schooled by some 14-year-old who's on his 8th Prestige.
And
I believe though that's why they put the bots in there and was it made it 6v6 humans, so that way you're probably only gonna get killed by the humans because they obviously react more intelligently than any AI can currently.
Yeah.
So the AI bots will probably be the cannon fodder to make you feel like, ooh, I killed 4 people this round, but then you got taken out by an actual human. That's understandable.
Yeah. That's just going to be the big thing, is making sure that they utilize the features that the Call of Duties and the Battlefields wouldn't normally be able to, but also make sure that it's a fair enough thing that in 4 or 5 months, if I pick up the title, that I'm not going to be completely behind the realm of people that have been playing since day one.
Yeah, I think what's really going to help define the game is sort of. Did you ever hear like the way Microsoft and Bungie like defined Halo was moment to moment gameplay, where like something significant happens every 15 to 25 seconds. There's never a moment where it's like completely dull. Something like, ooh, that guy like moved in a particularly unique fashion, or that person like flanked in a particularly unique fashion. I think in a game like this, talking about landing your Titan on another Titan, flying up and all around the battlefield, getting up close and personal with smaller enemies, or duking it out 1v1 with a Titan, will be where it comes. So let's wrap up here, Brian. This has been Button Mash on WCRD 91.3 FM, the Pulse of Ball State. Sorry about the audio quality and the sort of weirdness of today's episode. Again, not our fault. blame
Technology.
Blame technology and the gods behind that one. You can find us at Button Mash. God, Lucas usually does this, so he knows it much better than I do.
You can find us at Button Mash BSU for Facebook. The Twitter account is twitter.com/ByteBSU.
We're getting everything changed up here as we rebrand into Byte BSU. We're slated to have our meeting on March 5th. so we can convince the kind folks here at the TCOM SAC to allow us to become an honest-to-God student organization. And you're invited to come help us out. We need writers, we need producers, we need web developers, we need graphics kids. If you are anything, I want you to work with us as long as you're passionate about games and you're talented at what you can do. So yeah, Facebook and Twitter, you can find us at BudMashBSU, or Twitter is ByteBSU, and YouTube is BudMashBSU, and Blogspot is budmashbsu.blogspot.com. We are posting a video review of the Left Behind, or The Last of Us DLC titled Left Behind. Our very own assistant editor-in-chief, Lucas Schmidt, will be taking care of that. So he's actually playing that in a couple hours here in our little brand spanking new video capture room. And we're going to get that content out to you as soon as possible. Check out that. All right, guys. I am Joseph Newt.
I am Brian Cook.
And have a great weekend. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Feel the love.